Hello, this is Paula, and you've found the Common Book Show. Lucky you. I'm here today with a bunch of people. Of course, Richard Wicca and Brian and Greg, who is playing a corny guy. And we've got Celeste, and we have Joel, and of course, my son Tom on drums. So we're all here, and we are going to be talking about stuff. So get ready to talk about stuff. Our corn is acting up over there. Um, so anyway, today the first thing I wanted to talk about is a book I'm listening to on Libby, and I mentioned Libby before, but I cannot say enough good things about it because I get to listen to all these great books for free. So I am listening to a book about the origins of the native people of America. And it's called Origin, and they use DNA, they use mythology of the first peoples, and they use archaeological finds
Nice.
to bring everything together into an agreed upon mix of information, and I'm really enjoying it. The girl is Polish American who's writing this book. She's not native, and she just has a real strong sensitivity for the information, and it's fascinating. A lot of the things that I thought were accumulated knowledge of origins are changing rapidly because they found a 30,000-year-old remains of a man up in the
Alaska?
the Beringian, whatever that area there, and they and that really changes a lot of ideas about, and they're finding DNA evidence that not all the first peoples are related. So they may have come from different parts of the world. I find that fascinating. So some places they may have come in from Polynesia, in some cases from Asia, like we've expected all this time, and all of the things, all the politically based things that we've said about, like the Mounds people and how they weren't connected to the tribes that were there, and all this stuff was all political because we wanted an excuse to take their land, which is, of course, really screwed up. But I'll keep you posted on this because I just started listening to it, and so far I find it really, really amazing.
Yeah, I'm very interested in all that too. And just human origins in general, but Native Americans in particular.
Hmm.
And I've heard there's some tribes out west that weren't too thrilled when scientists told them their DNA showed they were probably Asian in origin.
Well,
Some tribes,
yeah.
like you
Well,
said.
but most of the tribes believe that they've been here since the beginning.
That's why they weren't too happy about it.
Right. And
Yeah.
so their mythology it's showing that it's more accurate than what we actually believe through the archaeological record as we had examined it,
Mm.
the pieces that were still available to examine. So their myths are being proved right because they passed it down with a spoken word. They passed down their
Yeah,
information.
oral tradition, yeah.
And so I think that's really interesting that they're finding more and more that the stories are closer to the truth than we ever thought. So it's my thing. I like archaeology, but I am I'm still reading the what am I reading? What's the name of the book I'm reading, Greg? The book about the guy that's shipwrecked on, I can't even
Robinson Crusoe.
Robinson Crusoe, but I only read at night, and so I get like 2 pages in. And
Did you get to the part? Did you get to the part where he meets Friday?
not yet, not yet.
I'd like you to pay attention to something.
Okay.
He says, "I think I will call you Friday."
Hmm.
And then what's his next sentence?
I don't know, because that's the day of the week he thought it was that he met
No,
him.
his next sentence is, "And you can call me."
Robinson.
Saturday.
Mr. Captain Caruso.
I don't
or
remember. I read
something?
it when I was in high school.
It's very revealing.
It's
A lot of people don't realize that. They just know about the name Friday, but they don't know what his name was.
he didn't ask to be called like Mr.
Oh, he gave him a name.
Mr. Caruso.
He gave himself a name.
Oh, okay. Tell me what the name is.
But nobody knows it. That's very revealing because it's very damning.
he never.
He says, I will call you Friday, and you can call me Master.
Master.
okay, right.
Oh, ah, ha.
Isn't
I
that
forgot
rather
about that.
revealing of the time it was written, 1719?
It is very revealing. And the other thing is, he was a slave in Africa in the beginning of the book. He was taken into slavery, and he escaped. So you would think that after that experience, he might be a little bit more sensitive, but I guess not. But we'll find out. I mean, I'm just curious about it. But yeah, I didn't know that. I'm sure that would have struck me when I
Well,
read
now
it.
it will.
Yeah.
When you see it, you'll think of this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, that's true. So okay. First thing, Richard, what's on your list?
Ellis Regina.
Ellis Regina.
Everybody have a blank look on their face.
Yeah, never heard the name.
Every North American in this room.
I-
Celeste and Joel, Ellis Regina mean anything?
No.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to. Tell me something, and maybe. How do I communicate with you guys? Can
You
hear
just
me,
talk,
Or do
yeah.
I...
We can hear you.
We hear you. Yeah. Can you hear us?
Oh, I would have said something earlier. I didn't know if I had to do something.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Well, then your first part about the indigenous people, I was thinking about the discovery in California, where they found lots of evidence, archaeological artifacts and footprints and all kinds of things buried that took that particular tribe, Lenape and the other, back 23,000 years, as opposed to, as you mentioned earlier, the 7,000 or 8,000 that they've been purported.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of new
that is like-
evidence.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
and it's fascinating. It's exciting too because it's changing everything.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so
And
now
it certainly speaks to the evolution of the earth, right? Our earth.
oh yeah,
surface.
well
Yeah.
that was they were estimating things based on the Bible back then, which of course we don't do now. Most sane people don't do now. But so who was this Alice? Who?
Regina.
Regina. Well,
So you don't know her.
Regina is like a queen or something, right? I mean, that's what.
No, that's her actual name.
Oh, okay.
So you don't know her, but you all know Judy Garland.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's because you're a North American. If you were a South American, it would be the opposite. You would know Ellis Regina, but you wouldn't know Judy Garland. So
Is she a movie star?
She was a singer,
Uh-huh.
and she was a lot like Judy Garland. I
Yeah.
mean, she had this vulnerability, and people gravitated to her charisma, and they felt her pain, they felt her happiness.
Yeah.
And she had a kid who went into music, like Liza Minnelli, same thing.
Yeah.
Well, Volkswagen contacted the child, who's now an adult and is a singer in Brazil,
Yeah.
and said, we would like to do a commercial where we combine you and your mother in the same commercial. All right? This is fascinating. Look what Volkswagen did
A commercial
They-
for just South America.
Visually.
for Volkswagen in South America.
Yeah.
Right.
Visually.
Well, yeah, because they wouldn't do it here because no one would know what
That's what
it's
I
about.
Right,
figured.
right.
Yeah.
So if you look here, see they have the old, see her mother? That's Ellis.
Yeah.
All right, that's the daughter.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're driving side by side and they're singing. Well, you know what's kind of interesting about this?
That's the Regina.
That's Alice Regina.
Alice Regina.
That's the legend.
So, how did they fit, just made
It's
her?
totally artificially intelligent.
AI.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Wow.
This scene never took place in reality.
Of course not, because
Yeah.
yeah,
They're
All
the
right.
same age in the
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
they're basically the same age. In
So the people in the writer's strike are bringing this commercial up.
Oh.
And then the actors are getting involved and they're saying, look, as Susan Sarandon said this,
Yeah.
I have a certain set of political beliefs and I will only take certain roles. She says, I would like some kind of guarantee so that when I'm dead and I don't have an ancestor who's very right wing, that they create an avatar that looks just like me saying things I would never say.
Right.
right.
So they want these kind of guarantees.
I agree with that.
But doesn't
Wow.
Susan Sarandon know that she's very likely 100% going to be dead and not care about it then? And
Well,
she-
it's still her legacy, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean-
But she's saying a legacy thing when really she's gonna be nothingness and she's not gonna know about her legacy. Well, who's
that's-
kidding who?
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So it's
that-
it's sounds kind of like egotistical Hollywood star stuff.
Well, you're assuming she's going to be nothingness, but you don't really know that for
But
a
I'm saying it
fact.
sounds like it's so fucking likely, and she's
Right,
obviously an
right.
egotistical Hollywood celebrity who thinks everything revolves around her legacy. Well, really, it's ridiculous.
But what if it were you? If they used your likeness to
I
promote
want people to do
racism?
anything.
Well, there's a Greg
want people to do
Sterling
anything-
show now that doesn't include him, and there was another Greg Sterling show that included Mr. Ski Mask. So I mean, it's kind of happened already to you without you.
And
even
I'm
being
fine with
dead.
that. John Blake is my avatar. Pam Swartz is my avatar. Nessa is my avatar.
But they also have similar political views.
Well, I don't care. I think if my video, all those
If
videos,
it was
I
a Greg Sterling show that was a pro-Nazi, how would you feel about that?
wouldn't feel anything at all because I'd be dead.
No, now. I mean now.
Well,
while
that's
you're
different.
alive.
If Susan Sarandon was saying they were using AI to do using Susan Sarandon, her image right now as she's alive in movies, saying something that she doesn't politically agree with, I can see how she'd be upset about that. But
Right.
for legacy, the legacy thing's a joke.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if
It's
agree with
egomania.
that. Yeah, I don't know if it's egomania. I just think that she just doesn't want to be associated with that
Plus,
in life or death.
Plus, Susan Sarandon is not that open-minded, because if she was really open-minded, she'd take all kinds of roles in movies, because she's acting. Does she know she's acting? When you act, you don't play your own political views necessarily.
Well,
She can play a devout right-winger because she's acting. What does she think acting is?
Yeah, but on her public stage, she's exercised her beliefs off the screen and off the stage, and she doesn't. If you have anybody who knows you, you do not want a misrepresentation when you're gone, especially if you have family left. Like if somebody took my image and turned me into a Nazi thing, my kids would lose their mind, right? And I wouldn't blame them. Maybe I would rise up from the dead
it would upset them, right?
and haunt and whatever, or people who knew me. It was like, why would you misrepresent something
Well,
like
it's
that?
just
Yeah, but
like
my point is
but
that
it's just like when we go to wakes. We were talking about that today.
yeah,
We didn't go for Julie because we didn't really know Julie.
Right.
We went for Beth. And the
Right.
thing is, it's the same thing with the kids afterwards. If that image is used for something
but what
despicable, it'll upset those people that are left behind.
but what I'm saying is, Susan Sarandon should know it's acting, that she can play roles that are right wing, and Sigourney Weaver is a devout liberal, right? And she's in that new Master Gardener when she's not playing a liberal,
Right,
because
I
she's
agree
acting.
with you. I agree with you on the acting point. I agree with you. I mean,
This whole idea of I only take roles that match up with my real life. If your career is acting,
well, then we'd never have any movies about Nazis, would we? I mean, really, if you think about it, because
most of the time it's liberal Hollywood people playing the
right,
Nazis.
because most
of the
people in
time.
Hollywood are liberals. So I mean, and do you really want pro-Nazi people to
I'm
play
just saying-
Nazis? That would be creepy.
Made a legacy point makes sense, but the other point is ridiculous.
She wants to be known for her diversity, right?
Yeah.
After you're dead, you can say Susan Sarandon, she played every kind of role.
Yeah,
And
but she
attribute
doesn't want to,
her
though.
as an-
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, then she's choosing.
Yeah,
right?
she makes her own decisions, and I
Yeah.
agree with Greg to the degree that you need to have people who are playing those roles that you don't politically agree with in order to present them on stage or on screen, and
Well, it's the one.
unless it is let's say it's the Nazi Party putting out this movie and they're trying to glorify it.
She's not. We're not talking about that. We're talking about her playing something like a right-wing role in a movie.
Yeah.
It's the one occupation where you're not being yourself, and everyone knows you're not being yourself.
Right.
Right.
So why would she? This whole idea of I pick and choose only ideologically correct roles for myself. What the
Well,
fuck?
but she gets to make her own decisions on
No,
it,
I know.
you
I'm just saying I
She's a big
disagree with
star.
her. I
It'd be
disagree
nice
with her.
to see the movie she turned down.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to see what the list is of the things that she didn't want to play.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
Sigourney
another
Weaver's
part, too,
doing
is
that. She's taking
Yeah,
she
yeah.
even though she's a devout liberal, she's playing right winger on in Master Gardener.
Yeah. So, Joel, do you have any thoughts about this? I know that y- you are someone who. Oh, Joel left. Oh, okay. Joel's gone. All right. Well, then we don't have to include him. Okay. So yeah, I see what Greg means, and I do think that I think it would be challenging for an actor to play something
Because she's
that
getting
was
inside of a different type of person
totally
that's not her.
opposite of what they are.
Yeah,
you know?
because like
Yeah, that's the best part of acting, getting to be
you
somebody
get to
else.
you get to be somebody else, and you get to play something that's not like you at all.
Do you-
Like for instance, Matt Damon, he played Liberace. He played Liberace's boyfriend in Beyond
Oh,
the
that's
Beyond
true.
the Beyond the Candelabra. Right?
Candelabra, yeah.
He did that because, and he made a point of saying, "Listen, I'm straight, I'm married, I've never been gay, I'm not a boy toy, I'm not a sex object, but I'm gonna play Michael Douglas having sex with me in this movie because I want to stretch my acting role, my acting
Right.
career. I want to stretch all the way. I'm known for high testosterone macho action films. Yet what I'm going to do with all my, because I'm going to show my all, not that they're going to care, but I show any of my fans who do notice, I can play gay boy toy. You know, I'm going to get in shape for this. I'm going to be gay boy toy, with gay bimbo boy toy, because I want to stretch my acting chops. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
Was that all he wanted to stretch? No, just
Yeah, that's all he wanted to stretch with his acting chops.
Well,
Well, sometimes it depends on how you feel the role will impact you. Does it misrepresent you to the point where it will linger with you too much?
well, I know a lot
Like,
of
you know, the actors who were in those Exorcist series.
yeah.
I mean, many of them, first of all, they had counselors on set. Then the ones who were Catholic were having priests with them. They had to be coached through language. I guess it depends because now you're channeling these kinds of energies through your body
was
because
that
that's
the
what's
TV
happening.
series, the recent TV series?
Was that the movie or the?
No, I'm thinking about the movies because then they have
Okay.
the sequences. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few
and-
Exorcist movies, but yeah, there was a popular TV series a couple of years ago.
Was there? I didn't know
Yes,
about
I
that.
watched it once or twice and said this is garbage and turned it off. But
Yeah.
Yeah, but
was-
how? But as a creative person yourself, Celeste, would you take a role playing somebody who was diametrically opposed to the way you think?
It depends on how diametrically, because there's some things you just don't want to have incorporated into, for me, you just don't want to have that experience in your aura. You don't want to have it. You do want to expand as an artist, and you do want to do different things, but there has to be a bottom line about
Right.
how you're going to treat your person
Well,
and how you're going to treat your
right.
psyche. right?
Everything everything you read and everything you experience will get in that gray matter and incorporated into the way you think. So it might impact the way you think.
Well, that's the reason I watch Fox News channel.
But I know,
I
but
watch that because it's diametrically opposed to my way I think, so I watch it.
Yeah.
So I watch it to get a fuller view of the fascism going on in
it
America.
makes me angry. I can't watch it.
I don't want
Yeah.
just a liberal viewpoint, which I agree with. I want to see what this fascist movement of Trump is doing, and therefore I watch Fox.
Yeah, I find.
know
it
I do that.
I know. I find it difficult to absorb.
And I sometimes listen to right wing talk radio. Because
God.
because then I'm getting a full representation of what's going on in America. Because if you just stay in the liberal bubble and things that agree with your point of view generally, then you're not getting the full impact.
Right.
I used to do that, Greg, and I totally agree with that, like checking out the other side
Yeah.
to keep yourself honest. But my problem with listening to any of that right-wing radio or Fox is I studied philosophy in college and logic, like, thought and how it's actually constructed, and they're completely illogical. Their arguments make no sense, and it makes me nuts.
Well, that's kind of how
Because
Paul
they're
feels.
they're speaking in circular
Yeah.
circumlocutions that go nowhere, that make no sense, and they're just throwing anything with the kitchen
Right,
sink in there.
and it makes me angry.
And I want to rip my hair out, and I got to turn it off.
It makes me angry that people are.
I find it invigorating.
Are not don't have critical thinking skills in order
Exactly.
to weed it out, and that makes me angry too.
Well, this was on the news today.
Okay.
Fox said that a new law has been passed in Michigan whereby if you're in a school and you use the wrong pronouns for one of the students, they can have you brought up on charges for being, what's that, like insensitive, and that you're.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So like if
As
if
a
some-
state law,
if-
like the whole state.
if
That's
somebody
what Fox News said.
is presenting as female and you
No, you tell your pronouns to your teacher,
yes.
and your teacher is
Right,
obligated to
right.
use those pronouns.
Okay, and that doesn't sound
Otherwise, your
real,
teacher
though.
commits a crime. They
A
said this
crime.
on Fox News, yes. Then they said it the next day,
I think they might be exaggerating with the crime thing.
and
but-
then they said it the day after that, and then finally, the people in Michigan
Mhm.
filed a suit against Fox News
Oh, good.
and said,
Right, 'cause I was
there's
gonna say,
nothing.
Gretchen is their governor. Nothing. She would never do that.
They said
ever.
there's nothing in that law that has anything to do with pronouns. The word pronouns isn't even in the law.
Right.
Yes,
So on the
yes,
fourth day,
Wow.
Fox News said, "Oh, we want to retract. There's nothing in there regarding that."
Would they retract
If
at
you
2 in
had
the
missed
morning?
that fourth day, you would know about the retraction.
would-
Yeah,
Wouldn't
not to
matter.
mention the people. Sometimes people hear the retraction, and it's like they're probably being forced into that. My good buddies at
Right,
Fox are being
right.
forced into that. I believe what's really happening there is the thing I heard from them 3 days in a row.
Now it gets
And-
even worse. There are Republicans in the state of Michigan who have started a vote to recall the Democratic people who proposed that that bill be put into law in Michigan, that they should have another vote as to whether or not they should be in office, based on what they saw on Fox News.
Even though
But-
it's untrue.
Right, but
That's insane.
But was the law in fact about gender issues?
Yes,
But it didn't say anything about pronouns.
correct.
So what they did was they just made something fanciful up to get
Mhm.
people angry,
They did.
and that's what
Yeah.
they do all the time. They're
Yeah.
a bunch of
Yeah.
assholes.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think that's the purpose of Fox, right? Fox has
Yeah,
said
I agree.
we don't have to tell the truth. We just have to incite. That's our job, to incite.
Incite, because
Well-
that's how they get
And
ratings.
And they do incite well.
Right.
That's what January 6th is all about, right? Because they incited it along with Donald.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They did a good job inciting January 6th, right?
So yeah, I can't believe that. I mean, all right, free speech. I am all for free speech, but I think that untruth speaking, there should be some consequence. I mean, they're suing them, but that's not stopping them. They paid
Well, they
off.
lost a lot. They lost a lot of money for lying about the election.
But right, so now they got to
A lot.
lie even more to make that money back.
$1 billion.
Well, but I'm
lawsuits.
saying they did get consequences for the election fraud. All the stuff they were
But
saying.
they didn't
on-
report that on Fox. Nobody knows about
Right,
that. All those
right.
people that were lied to and still believe.
No,
that
no, but I'm
crap.
saying Fox did pay a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
In the suit.
Yeah, but they think all the people that believe it,
They all
that
still believe it.
that stuff.
Well, the thing is, like I said earlier, the dumb Fox viewers will tend to, even if they knew about the paying off of it, because they announced it briefly on Fox.
They're like, oh, that's
One
a
sentence type of
conspiracy
thing, one day,
legal-
1 hour thing.
legal junk.
Yeah, it was less than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But they're going to think, like I said, they're going to think Fox was forced into doing this. It's
Right.
the deep state is fucking them over, and therefore.
Mhm.
But we know the truth, and Fox News gave us the original truth
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's
that the election was stolen from Donald.
so right. So that's how what we live with now every day.
Well, they interviewed some Fox viewers, right? And the young guy who was interviewing them, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the reporter's
Jordan
name.
Klepper,
asked their-
I think.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the viewer responded, saying, or most of the viewers responded by saying, "I listen to Fox because I want to hear people that I know and I understand and who agree with me." So it's the opposite of kind of what Greg is saying. It's saying, I listen to Fox because that's what I think, and that's all I want to hear is what I think.
Yeah, and
And
you know,
then
and
with
That's a
and then
general
whatever they
human
say-
tendency too, though.
Trump opened
Yeah.
up that bag of worms. I'll tell you, that was that.
Yeah.
Even I'd much rather have all that hate under wraps
Right.
than out in the open and people
Exactly.
getting shot and killed and.
because he justified
It's
it and
horrifying.
brought it out in the open, and
So,
then it festered.
Well, he said there's good people on both sides. With the neo-Nazis attacking and killing, he said there's good people on both sides.
yeah, I'm sickened by all of that. I'm gonna switch over.
Yeah.
I'd like Celeste to tell us a little bit about her project that she's got going at the Shays that side theater.
Oh, yeah, Shay 710.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's an environmental statement piece.
Uh-huh.
And, we're talking about whales because the title of it is The Whale Speaks, and it was inspired by a collection of poems by poet Sherry Robinson,
Uh-huh.
who also is a big fan of Moby Dick, and she wrote a book called Or the Whale, a collection of poems, and she wrote a poem for every chapter in Moby Dick.
Mm.
And they had a workshop. It was a challenge at the former Talking Leads on Main Street that I missed so much. And they issued some poems of Sherry's and asked local poets to write a response to some of those. And when I looked at it, realizing that her poems are written, one for every chapter of Moby Dick, it was about the chronicled the life journey and experiences of a woman,
Yeah.
generic woman, not necessarily her woman. And I looked at that and I said, the title of the book is Moby Dick, but Moby Dick never has anything to say, right?
Yeah.
It's Ahab and his bunch and everybody. So I decided I wanted to be the voice of the whale, and I wanted the voice of the whale to be a matriarch and feminine, and incorporated it into the crisis that we're having. That was one, caused by the whaling industry, but two, now we have global warming and climate change,
Right.
and nobody understands or appreciates the impact of the whale, if you will, on our air that we breathe. And when I wrote my poems from that perspective of the whale speaking, then I started to learn more really about oceans and how they significantly influence weather patterns and
Oh,
things like that.
absolutely.
And then I also think about poetry and how a lot of people think poetry happens at a podium and it doesn't really happen any other place else. And I thought, I need poetry to go to work, right? Go to work like other genres go to work.
Yeah.
And
It's if you read poetry, if you know about poetry and you read it, you do know that it serves an enormous purpose in our lives to enlighten. It's an enlightening thing. It's an aha moment. There's so many poems that are an aha moment. And
yes,
so, the idea of writing it from the whale's perspective is genius. Richard Wicca, he said to me one time, have you read Moby Dick? And I looked at him and like he had three heads. And I said, no, I'm not going to read Moby Dick. And he quoted something off the top of his head from Moby Dick to me. And it was the most beautiful piece of poetic writing, like novel writing I'd heard. And I picked up the book and I loved it. And so the book itself is filled with poetic moments like that. So, but you never
and way
do.
ahead of his time.
Yeah, you never do get that whale's perspective. You just get, Ahab and chasing, that's.
And all the rest of the gang. Yeah. So, so these are poems, that I wrote in response to that, and appreciating that Melvin was ahead of his time, because he really was, and he incorporated a lot into that big thick book.
Yeah.
But
It was amazing.
since we're having our crisis, my characters, a whale and a dolphin, are looking for a place to live, and we get to examine the state of the ocean. We get to examine the fact that the whales, every second breath we take, and we don't, we just breathe, right? You're alive, you breathe.
Yeah.
Every second breath you take is made possible by the contributions of whales to the environment.
Wow. Well, that's
Because
an
of
interesting fact.
Yeah. And, there's a Nat Geo in May of 2021. Their cover story was The Secret Life of Whales. And then, of course, they had the PBS special.
Uh-huh.
But that particular edition talked about, the scientific realities of of carbon dioxide and how much they can contain. Like a single well can actually be take out like 33 tons of toxins out of our air. It has a
Right.
lot to do with the plankton that they fertilize, and that is fully responsible for maybe up to 50% generally. And then of course the trees and the rainforest and the
I,
mangroves.
right. All that stuff
So
that's being
you
removed.
lace that all together, and you find out that the things that we don't know, like and appreciate, like the ocean and the whales and their contribution to our
Well,
breath. Right.
like the fact that the sand in the Sahara Desert is responsible for the rainfall in the rainforest in South America.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
anytime you watch one of those specials that connects the dots like that, you realize you can't, we can't be destroying any place without making a mess of the balance. So
Yes,
I'm
and the fact that we're all part of it. I think that our species, human, we sort of separate ourselves to be above and beyond all of it, right?
Exactly.
yeah,
And that's what, right.
I feel
And
yeah.
so we do stuff, and then when it doesn't work out, we want to blame the other stuff.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
I believe that the Earth's trying to get rid of us, and I don't think that I think it would be much better off without us. Actually,
But that would be assuming the Earth is conscious,
I
though.
think the Earth is conscious, and I think the Earth is trying to
Oh,
get rid of
I
us.
think the,
I
the
don't
Earth
think
is.
it's trying to get
I
rid of
believe.
us. I think we're doing ourselves in. It's just that simple.
Well,
And we
no,
don't want to admit that we
we're
are
like a
destroying our own environment
we're like
that
a
we live in.
virus. We're like a virus on the Earth, and the
Yeah.
Earth is trying to fight us off. And I agree with her.
I've heard that theory a lot, but viruses are not like human beings, though.
Well, I don't know. I think we're
Very
we're
different.
bad news. But
Well, one thing's for sure: the Earth can live without us, but we can't live without
That's
the
my
Earth,
po-
yes,
that's
right?
my point.
that's what I always say,
Yeah.
Celeste.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things to say. So
Yeah.
now, as far as reading material, which is usually what we talk about, what are you reading these days, Brian?
Me. Oh, well, I just picked up a book today that I believe I read in high school, but I can't remember for sure. The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers. I think her last name is McCullers. She was a woman raised in the South,
Uh huh.
and this book was published in the mid '60s, I believe, and people were kind of shocked that a Caucasian woman would have as much awareness of the racial things going on in the South that she experienced in her youth. But the book is just about, I guess it's about a deaf mute guy that has an also deaf mute friend that goes insane, and then he tries to find somebody else to be his friend, and it's just about people that are kind of marginalized in general, that aren't fully considered part of the social stratum or whatever. And that's what the Dust Jacket said, and I was trying to remember. I think I read the book, but I don't remember.
Well,
It was a long time
A
ago.
lot of those classics with the names,
So-
we kind of think we may have read because we've heard the name so much.
I think I might have seen the movie,
yeah,
you know,
it's possible.
but she's, I mean, if you read the accolades inside the book of some of the greatest novelists in her time, they're like, this is amazing writing. And that's why I just have trouble finding good fiction to read now because, like you were talking about Melville, like you read Melville and his amazing writing and everything, and then I read some of the writers now, and they just
I'll
don't,
turn you on to some women writers that
They
you
just
would,
don't.
you would really like.
Yeah, probably.
Barbara Kingsolver. She's
I've tried to read her. I don't like a
You
lot
don't-
of her books.
really
I don't.
She's brilliant.
No,
She's brilliant.
I really don't. I've tried to read like 3 of her books, and I drop it after a few
Yeah.
chapters. It just
Well,
doesn't.
she does speak to women, but the Toni Morrison,
Yeah.
Amy
I've read
Tan,
Toni Morrison. I've read Amy Tan.
the amazing
So.
voices that are. This is the woman that wrote Heart is a
Carson
Woman.
McCullers.
Yeah.
No, I like Amy
She's
Tan.
got, she's got a kind of youthful face, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. She's got a very, very youthful
Yeah.
face. But so how far are you into the book?
I haven't even. I just got it today.
Which library do
So.
you go to now?
Amherst.
The one on Main Street?
No. The big new one on
Audubon.
John James Audubon.
Yeah, Audubon. That's a great library.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's
I've been
amazing.
going there. Yeah. No, I liked Amy Tan. I just read one of her books last winter because I was like, I've never checked her out, and I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, her books are amazing. They're
So I don't know what it was about Kingsolver. I tried reading her like 20 years ago, and it just didn't click. Maybe I should try again because there's a lot of books I found that it really seems like your state of mind can determine how much you can access a certain writer at the time.
I'm trying to. I'll think of one or two, one book that maybe would be
But
something that you like. The Bean Counters is very. It's about Native
Yeah.
American. There's a lot of Native American stuff in there.
I don't think I tried that
Yeah.
one. Yeah. But
No, not the Bean Count. The Bean Trees. The Bean,
Bean
trees.
Trees.
Yeah, that one. And
Okay.
there's a follow up to that.
I'll have to look for
So
that
that's
one.
a 2-part. Yeah, I think you'd
Yeah.
like it. But okay, so that's what you're reading, and Celeste, are you? I mean, you're probably too busy to read right now. You got too much going on.
Well, I have a lot going on, which is true, but a friend of mine, a longtime dear friend of mine, is the retired executive director of the SPCA,
Uh-huh.
and she's really a voracious reader, and she's the one who actually gave me the Nat Geo magazine with the whale on the cover.
Uh-huh.
Well, just a day or two ago, she said, "Oh, I found a book that you should have." And it arrived by Amazon today, and the title of the book is How to Speak Whale.
Cool.
Well,
Very
that's
cool.
very.
Right.
What a great thing to send you. That was
Right? What a
that
great
was
thing. So,
so
I
perfect.
have that to look forward to, and but it's not fiction. It's really a marine biologist and other research that talks about the complexities and distinction of communication among sea mammals and
so
whales in
Richard
particular.
Richard put that
Yeah.
the cover up on the screen.
Cool.
A voyage into the future of animal communication. Oh, that should be fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that should be. I've always thought that we're just species centric. That's why we can't talk to animals. We're just too species centric. But
Or two self-species. Because how many of us are fluently bilingual as other people are in
True.
other countries?
well, I just met a woman from Japan, and she speaks English. And the thing
Yeah.
is, I looked at her and I said, we're so bad at that in this country. We only
Yeah.
English is our only language, and even though they give you like maybe 3 years of language in high school, it's never meant to teach you how to speak it
Right.
to people. I said, and you guys, I said, all over the world, English is taught as a second language. You're so much better off than we are because you have those two languages.
Yes.
So that's
So-
that's fascinating.
Well, English is a huge business language. It's known all over the world mostly because of business.
But still,
And
it
it's
still gives you
actually-
another worldview.
English is really a good language for like business, and then languages like French and German are a lot more emotional. They have a lot of words that mean a lot of different things
But
we don't
yeah.
even have.
But right, I'm sure they still conduct business
So-
in their native language.
Well,
but
and
we're
well,
gonna
it's
go
because
with
of
the
the
language of
predominance
commerce.
of the United States. We're the most powerful country in the world, so people want to do business with us, obviously.
yeah.
So they learn English, but I mean, I'm just talking about, what professors have told me in college. Like, English really is a great language for like math, science, and business. And then when you get into even poetry and stuff, I mean, it's like French, German. There's just a lot more ways they express certain things that we don't even have words for.
Right, and then it's something.
Well,
can't-
then we
And,
should be speaking Mandarin, though, right? Then, if you're going to talk
Right.
about
yeah, that's
the language
true.
of commerce, we should be speaking Mandarin.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
even
mean-
want to learn it.
Yeah,
but-
I had
Right.
my
Yeah.
my
So-
niece, my nephew's daughter.
Mhm.
It goes to international school because her mother's from the Philippines, and so she goes to
Mhm.
international school in Houston, and
Uh-huh.
she learned how to speak Mandarin. And so
Yeah.
they were in an elevator with a Chinese guy who was only here for business, and she started speaking Mandarin to him. And he looked
Yeah.
at her and he said, "How do you know?" She says, "Oh, I learned it in school." She's like a
Yeah.
14-year-old girl, and she could
Yeah.
I mean, on a limited level, she could communicate because she went to international school where they think language is
Yes.
important for some
Right,
reason. I
right.
don't
Yes.
know, But yes,
I think that's important because I
Yeah.
mean,
it
in the
is.
days where English is, we're too global now. We're way too global now for us to be stuck in English day in and day out. You travel and you expect other people in other countries to speak
And
English
that's
instead
why
of you
we're
going to their
considered
country.
rude. Yeah, well, that's why they
Yes,
think we're
yes,
rude. So yeah,
yeah. We're just self-aggrandized at a horrible
yeah,
level.
I agree with that. So
The guy who wrote that book about the whale
yeah,
speaking,
yeah,
he's been doing the touring, promoting the book.
yeah.
And everybody said, what prompted you to write the book? And he said, when we were kayaking and this whale. Well, anyway, the guy said, too bad you don't have footage of that. And he said, I do. So look at this footage. This is what prompted the guy to write the book. See how he's kayaking with his friend? And you see
Yeah.
the whale?
Oh
Yeah.
my
Now
goodness!
watch what the whale does.
Oh, okay.
Oh
Oh,
my!
I've seen
Whoa.
this on YouTube.
Oh
I
my
think.
gosh! Can you imagine
Yeah.
how it
Whoa.
didn't come down on the boat though? Just on the side of the boat, right? Wow.
But it flipped him over
So
or
it
something.
did. It. He definitely. The whale knew what it was doing. So
Yeah.
So, Richard.
So, I just wanted to ask Les. So the whole play is the words are your poetry in the play?
All the content I wrote, and it's different kinds of poems. So just to try to do the show off a little bit. So one of my characters is Villanelle. I have 3 fish, and they're different types of haiku. I have my feature whale is blues, because blues does have a structure and a form, if you will. I have a 14-line sonnet, and I was working on a pontoon, but the play got too long, so I couldn't. And then some traditional rhyme schemes. But yeah, and a
Awesome.
rap. Although I have to say, I didn't do the rap myself because I'm just not edgy like that, like the younger writers could be. So I asked Jonna Willoughby Lore if she
Oh
would
yeah,
contribute.
Jonna.
Yeah, and she's
Awesome.
amazing.
She is.
Yeah,
We
and
discovered her.
so I have the rap in there that I sort of divided up. Because one of the things I like to do is take longer poems and put them in different places so you can see how a single thought can impact different
That's awesome.
circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah, Jonna had
yeah.
a song where we had Jesus arrested and Sweet
Mhm.
Jesus, and she did the rap song that's connected to that
Yeah.
scene. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we've been working with her we did have worked with her in the past. She's great.
Yeah.
So,
I met her and Idris Wajid when they were like in the 90s, late 90s. I met them, and I would take them with me to schools when the State Arts Council would be having literature programs as
uh-huh.
part of West Buffalo and other grant programs. And I really was just fascinated about how the kids related to them.
Yeah.
And they could, connect with them in that fashion. And that's why I like to give rap some credit. Not all rap is just like, not all music is good music.
Yeah, of
there's
course.
trash everywhere. But when it's profound and it allows people to evolve in thinking, I think
Yeah.
that's really cool.
And hers
Yeah.
is profound. She's always had that
Yeah.
way of looking at life.
Yeah.
But okay, so
So yeah.
so
So it's a whole play with original music. I don't know if you guys know Dan Haskins or not.
sounds familiar, but I don't know if I know him.
Yeah, he does a lot of ambient music, techno music, and things like that.
Uh-huh.
And so I commissioned him or asked him to be part and do original music for us, because the licensing and things nowadays is like
Yeah,
hair
it's-
raising.
I
You
know.
can't even go with it.
I know.
Yeah, so original poetry, original music,
Cool.
original dance. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably going to come.
When's it coming
you're
out?
Exciting me. It's on the
5th.
5th
August
of
the 5th.
August
Mhm.
5th. It's
Cool.
a Saturday. And
Yeah.
Greg's doing an interview that day, but I think I might
Yeah.
might slip away and come.
Brian, remember Studio Arena?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Shays took
Yeah.
it over. This
Mhm.
is being shown at the Shays Studio Arena.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Richard, what I know you got more stuff on your list.
Oh,
you
yeah,
always do.
yeah. As you know, there's a boundary between Israel and Gaza,
Uh-huh.
heavily fortified,
Fence,
etc.
Yeah.
Snipers,
Yeah.
you know. And there's this tradition every Friday, people show up at the border, Palestinians, and they
Yeah.
protest.
Right.
And the rule that the Israelis have laid down is you can't come too close to the border.
Right.
If you do, we will shoot you.
Mm.
All right? But the strange thing has been happening when these protests happen. People, they consider it a badge of honor to see how close they can get, and then they get shot. But the strange thing that's happening is when the medics go to attend to these people, the snipers are shooting the medics.
Wow.
Well, that's ridiculous.
So in 2022, the Red Crescent Society said that there were 47 medics who were shot while attending a protester. That was last year. So far this year, 193.
That's
What can we tell from that statistic?
that's pretty awful. I know. I am unfortunately. I have my heart goes out to both sides. I don't know how
Yeah.
to rectify this. I think that we have to learn how to not be cruel to each other. That's the bottom line, and we are still cruel and
Well, it's a public attitude, I think, a little bit, just by the fact that they've reelected,
Netanyahu, yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's a huge indicator
yeah.
of a lack of tolerance, and I mean, the list is long on that. And and those are violations of principles of war. If you just want to think about it like that, you're not supposed to bomb and kill hospitals and
that is
medicine
true.
people.
Yeah,
Right. That's why we have these
the Geneva
conventions and things like that.
Convention. Yeah,
So that's just way out of line.
yeah. I think
That
so too.
shooting medics is way out of line.
I agree with
And
that.
and the leadership is not protecting the cause, I guess, if you will.
Yeah,
You can have sympathy for people for various causes, but when you step outside of that, like the waterboarding thing,
Yeah.
and people say, well, that's how I get information. It might be. It
Yeah.
might be.
It's
but,
not good information. You
Right.
you torture people, and they're going to tell you anything just for you to stop
Exactly.
torturing them.
Yeah, they actually
Exactly.
proved that a long time ago in
Yeah.
the military.
But
that,
people, there are
Yeah.
certain people who still have a cruel streak. I
Right.
think I have this pie in the sky attitude that eventually it's going to be we're going to evolve out of that cruelty, and I hope I'm right. I won't be here to see it, but these people who are cruel to the bone like that, they are doing it because they enjoy it, and there's nothing else to say about it, really.
Well, I don't know how sadism is going to fade away.
Because I'm thinking that if our minds are evolving and we're becoming more peaceful human beings,
But don't you see, in America at least, the mind's devolving?
Right. I was going to say, I don't know how much our minds are even capable of
I
really
want
evolving.
to believe that our minds are
But-
capable of evolving.
But
I
how
don't know,
much?
that's capable.
But I'm saying how
Yeah.
much, though. How much?
Well, the
You know.
History Channel, I don't know, do you guys watch the History Channel at all?
I do sometimes.
All right, well, one of the series that they have is called Ancient Aliens.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
in this, they were talking about because there's different ones all the time.
Yeah.
And one of them was talking about how probably, because in targeting children, the conversation was about children and how more capable they are with certain complex things. And that and the purpose is for the hierarchy. So, because it was linked to aliens and how, we talk about aliens, but maybe Christians talk about angels. Either way,
Yeah.
they're people from a sky with wings, right? And part of this process is because we've had other planets, and this is how they're linking the galaxy theories to these things, is that planets that once were like Earth in their construction of earth, land, water, ice, all these things, kind of got burned out. And we're here and we're now in the process of a self-destruction process so that these younger, more evolved, more capable species, if you will become more like the old Nephilim and the giant, creatures that are actually referenced in Christian texts and in other texts, and that they'll evolve because we'll be wiped out. We will have killed each other off because of our insanity and cruelty. And these children, that generation, and who knows how many years it will take. But the whole purpose is now to sort of eliminate the irrational people that we seem to be and make way for these people. Otherwise, the planet implodes and it'll be like Mars.
We'll see. I mean, I was hoping COVID was going to kill off all the irrational people because they weren't having their vaccines. So
Right.
I was hoping that was it. I said, "Oh, goody!"
I heard an interesting statistic yesterday.
Yeah.
90% of the people admitted to hospitals during COVID were for COVID
Yeah.
were unvaccinated.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes so
Yeah,
much
but the
sense.
vaccines didn't work. That's what they're going to tell you. Elon Musk and those people are going to tell you.
RFK.
RFK is an idiot.
And now JFK's grandson came out and called him
Yeah,
called
I saw that
RFK
yesterday.
a lunatic. Yeah,
It's weird.
He said he's not fit to be president.
he can't. Yeah,
I mean, I got the new issue of New York, and he's on the cover, and they're talking about a real Kennedy with the conspiracy theories.
wow.
And it's a whole expose on him, and he's married to Cheryl Hines, who I really love because
Oh,
she's
Cheryl Hines, yeah.
she's on Curb Your
Yeah.
Enthusiasm, and I love Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering what she thinks now because she is a devout liberal. Da 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 da. She's a Hollywood elite. She meets Robert F. Kennedy Jr. She marries him, and then he goes ballistic.
Right.
It's like he just lost it.
Well,
Yeah.
So I wonder
and
what she
maybe he did
thinks.
just lose it. I mean, some people, they just freak out. I get, he's the odd Kennedy, right?
yeah.
I think the once Edward Kennedy, left us, there was this void about how to have the quote unquote Camelot concept continue to evolve, and that's a lot of pressure, right? And if you're him, he didn't have a lot to work with, right?
That's a nice way of
So-
saying it.
Right. So he's trying to recreate, like the Doobie Brothers song, trying to create what had yet to be created,
Yeah.
right?
Well, my negative
that's
view of it
kinda-
is that he was coddled and he's a rich boy that was raised with like everything handed to him probably, and he doesn't appreciate it. And
Yeah, well, all
he
the-
had all this time to think about all these things that, like, people like me were busy busting my ass, working my fingers to the bone, trying to survive. And he's got a lot of intelligence because I saw him speak 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I think it was, at Canisius College for free at the Montant Center. And I was sitting there telling my wife, oh my God, he's brilliant for the first hour. And then all of a sudden he took a sudden curve into madness and anti-vax stuff. I said to my wife, we're leaving. We got up and we were sitting near the front. She's like, what's the matter? I said, this guy's turning, he's a nut, and I stood up and she stood up and people watched us walk out. I couldn't listen any more of it. I was extremely disappointed. Because he's a brilliant guy, but there's very brilliant people that their brains are just screwed up.
He's got a screw loose, as my mother would say.
Yeah,
They just are.
just because there's obviously been a lot of nuts over the years who've been very smart, but they've been nuts like Krasinski.
Right.
I mean, he was
The
very
Unabomber?
He's very
extremely
smart.
bright.
Extremely bright.
He had a
Wait a minute, I
PhD
think
in
I'm going
physics.
to live in a little metal shed in the woods and kill people
Yeah.
via bombs. 'Cause I'm anti-technology, so I'm going to send bombs in the mail. What?
Yeah, that's a stretch from one.
Well,
thing
I'm
to the other.
anti-technology. I don't use typewriters, or I write it with my finger with some smudgy green paint. And
Hey, Greg, we have like 5 minutes left. You want to talk about anything you're reading?
No, I want to talk about how I've changed my life, and I've opened up to people, and they're really confiding in me, and it's quite a wild trip. The more I open up and listen to people, the more they delve into their deepest, darkest secrets, and they confided in me, and then they say thank you for helping me through my deepest, darkest secrets, and it's been going on, it's getting better and better. Let's say worse and worse. It's getting better.
More material for your next book.
Oh my God!
But you might have to change names to protect the innocent.
Well, I mean, a lot of what I've heard from people about relationships the last 2 years.
Scary stuff.
I know, it is scary. So I went downhill. I lost it mentally and physically. I came out of it more open and caring and interested in people's emotional problems than ever. And then they all spilled out on me. They've been spilling out for 2 years, and it led to my new book. And and there's just so much material. I think that the video we do about it will really be great, because people, the longer you talk to them, the more they open up. You just have to keep talking and talking to them. And because we interviewed Bobby Militello, Paula, and
Yeah.
he was just like, "I'm great. I'm fantastic. I'm great. I'm Bobby Militello. I play with Dave Brubeck. I know Stevie Wonder, and I know Robin Williams." That was the beginning. And 2 hours later, I'm fat. I smoke.
Really?
I smoke. I'm fucked up.
I'm a loser.
What's wrong with me? So now I got all these people doing a lighter version of that, like, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel
Then
good.
an hour later, and a day later, I
life
have
is
some
a
issues.
disaster.
And then the next time I talk to him, I got some deep, dark issues I want to talk to you about. Now that you're listening to me, and they say, actually, I've had people, like a half a dozen people say to me in the last 2 months, you're listening, Greg, and I talk, and I tell my problems to other people, and they say, just get over and do this, you stupid fuck. And meanwhile, you listen to it, so now I'm going to tell you my deepest, darkest secret. I'm going to go further down, because when I get dismissed by other people, but Greg, you've opened up and changed your heart, and now I can just spew it all out on you. And I had one person say to me, "You know more than anybody else about me." I'm like, all I did was listen.
That's quite a responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
I got at least two. I got at least three. I think I had three people that said to me something like that, and one of them was saying, I'm going over the edge, and I'm like, wow, I can't really tell anybody about this. You're going over the edge. Like, obviously you can't. And we talked about how in personal communication, the person can tell you they're going over the edge, towards depression, but they're not going to say it. Like if they were on a show with us, you and me, Paula, here, they won't say it.
No, not like the Greg Sterling show.
No, any show, not even your show, not even this show. If they were on this show,
laid everything out on the line.
Yeah, but on this show, if they came out, they would say, I'm okay, I'm good.
Oh, yeah,
I'm dealing with things. But if you stay with them in just like real life, with no cameras on, no recording equipment, no audio, no video, just listening to them, eventually they'll tell you the truth, and it's really, I feel like I'm going into the heart of darkness now.
Yeah. Sounds like
I feel like it's
sometimes listening is good. Remember that commercial they had when people were expressing their pain, more or less, and the response would be to their friend who's giving them the wacky advice, not helping, right?
Yeah.
And somebody else would say, do this, not helping, right? And it was really just that kind of thing. Find somebody who's willing to listen to you, not judge you. And I guess maybe that person might be a professional.
And but Celeste, don't you feel that sometimes even if you just say it out loud and you tell the whole story, it kind of puts all the pieces together so you can kind of figure out the problem yourself. I think a lot of therapists do that.
Well, yeah, but the thing
they just encourage you to speak, and then all of a sudden it becomes very clear what you're thinking wrong, what you're doing that's wrong thinking, and I mean, at least a lot of my therapy was like that.
Yeah, well,
certainly putting it out.
Yeah.
I think I kept reinventing myself, and finally I became a kind of pop counselor for these people in my life.
Pop counselor.
I'm not a professional, but I'm a how I'm a hobbyist on a lot of things.
Now you're
my new hobby is I'm a hobbyist, hobby therapist. or a
Greg,
hobbyist therapist.
Greg, I have a lot, I can tell you.
I know, Brian, because I know when I mentioned my book to you, you said that could have helped me save my marriages. Well, where were you then? And
Yeah,
I
did
talked
I
to
say
one
that?
woman.
Yeah.
I talked to one woman today, Brian. I said I told her about the book about emotionally satisfying women in relationships, and she said I got to give that to my husband.
Okay,
Yeah.
here we are, down to the 3-second warning here. Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Good
This has
night.
been the Common Book
Bye.
Show. And
Bye,
thanks so
Celeste.
much, Celeste, for joining us. It was a good surprise.
Good to see you.
And,
Yes.
and everybody who is here, thank you for participating. Bye.